But because this world cannot actually see God, it refuses to believe that he exists, forgetting entirely that the eye which could see God was closed ages ago. But if my students will only grasp the mighty fact that the living God is present here and now, and is vitally interested in every man's welfare, if I can get my students to see that, then I shall have accomplished a wonderful purpose. As I write this, my little Alfred is in the next room painting. I do not see him, but I know he is there, and if I call him, he will answer, "What is it, Daddy?" It is the same identical thing with God. He is here in the very atmosphere in which we move, and now that we understand why we cannot see him, we shall be very foolish if we do not comprehend the fact that he is here. It is not his fault that we cannot see him, and personally speaking, neither is it ours. It is, however, the fault of those 2 foreparents of ours way back yonder in the creation of man. And while you and I personally had nothing whatsoever to do with the actual believing of God, we are the direct descendants of the couple who were responsible for the closing of the eyes that once could see him. The Bible tells us that as by one man sin and doubt entered the world, by one man shall it be taken away again. That is up to us to do. These lessons are showing you how to do your part. And so we see that there is only one sin in the world. The moment you recognize the fact that I am teaching you about the actual presence of the living God, just that moment will you bend every effort to know all you can about him. How you find that the physical part of you is in rebellion against the spiritual part, but do not let that worry you. It always has been since the fall to date, and always will be until you yourself, by actual experience and practical work, learn just a little about the beauty of the presence of the living God. And when you know just a little about that, you will lose all interest in the shallower things of the material world. I am not in the slightest degree religious, as the word is used today, but may I say that to know this mighty life spirit is to love him. And when you begin to know him, you will fall in love with him too. You will not be able to help yourself. The most beautiful moments I have ever experienced have been, and still are, the moments when the living God makes his presence felt in my life. These are moments of extreme happiness, which is utterly unexplainable. These are moments of power, utterly unexplainable, and above all, they are moments of peace, utterly unexplainable. Can these moments be seen by the outside world? Not at all. They are moments of communion between my real self and its God. Sin, there is no such thing to the man who knows the living God, and this same God is just enough not to impute either sin or its consequences to the man who honors him by acknowledging him or talking to him. Never fear about that man ever committing very many of the multitude of so-called sins in the universe today. That man has learned where the real joys of life lie, and he follows them just as naturally as a duck takes to the water. At this point, I shall leave you till next week. I want you to know, to decide what is the one thing above all others that you most need in your life. I can tell you the thing that will make all other things possible, and that is a fuller revelation of the presence and power of the living God. That may not be your ideal now. It will be later, however, but for the present, decide what it is that you most need from this great life spirit. Then in your hour of quiet meditation, use the formula, the living God is, and then whatever it is that you most need. For instance, if your need is of money, say, the living God is bringing me money. If you have some disease or other, makes no difference. If it has been pronounced incurable or not, say the following, the living God is making me well. Under no circumstance must you ever make the assertion that you are doing it, It would be disastrous. You are not doing it. And furthermore, you will never be able to do it. The living God himself does it, not you. For instance, if you were trying to be rid of some disease or other, it would be disastrous for you to say, I'll get rid of this, or I'll fix this, or anything on that order, because if you do, you will be disappointed. Always let your assertion be that the living God is now doing just exactly what you want done. And let me assure you, my friend, that if you never will doubt, and if you keep the communication open between you and this immutable living God, you will never be disappointed, for God is immutable law. End of Lesson 5.